Total Makeup Junkie 101. So today I have the video that you guys really have been wanting to see for a long time. This is my review on the Tarteist Pro eyeshadow palette. So this is what the outer box of the palette looks like, and then this is what the actual palette itself looks like. It's got kind of like this matte black front with the gold metallic writing. I originally picked this palette up during the Sephora VIB Rouge 20% off sale, but the original price of this palette is $53. The outer packaging of this palette is like a fairly durable plastic, and it has kind of like the metallic gold on the back, and then you kind of just pop the palette open. It has a really large mirror on the top, and then you are getting 20 different eyeshadow colors. Now, when I first saw this palette being promoted everywhere on social media, I will be perfectly honest, I looked at it and thought, there we have yet another neutral Tarte palette. But the amount of requests I got to review this palette kind of pushed me over the edge to just go ahead and test it out. You guys have probably most definitely seen other big YouTubers out by the beaches or the pool in Bora Bora with Tarte promoting this new eyeshadow palette. I feel like other like smaller YouTubers who weren't invited, like myself, took great offense to that, but I don't think it's any big deal. I actually think it's kind of cool if a makeup company is bringing in enough money and wanting to kind of share that success with their biggest influencers who are most definitely bringing in the highest number of customers. I don't really see any problem with that, but where I do see a problem with is on the influencer side, the fact that influencers were just hyping this palette and just speaking so highly about it, and after testing it, I'm thinking, did they even swatch it? Honestly, this palette is not all that. I do not think it's a very good palette. I don't think it's anything new, innovative, or unique for Tarte. So I'm disappointed. Basically, the way this palette is laid out is you get 16 matte shadows, which are the square pans over here, and then you get 4 duochrome shadows in the round pans. The way I did the swatches is I swatched the matte rows together, and then I went ahead and just swatched the duochromes together. So here are the top 2 matte rows in this palette. From left to right, we have Classic, Innocent, Whimsy, Smoked, Vintage, Fierce, No Filter, and Vamp. And then here we have the third and the 4th row of matte colors in this palette. From left to right, we have Chic, Profesh, Mod, Drama, Indie, Bold, Edgy, and Punk. And then here we have the 4 duochrome shadows. From left to right, we have Ethereal, Glam, Minx, and Trendy. So hopefully you guys could get an idea of exactly what you're getting in this palette based on those swatches. So in terms of the matte shadows, the darker matte shadows are pretty stiff, and that makes them really difficult to blend. The lighter shadows are just so powdery, they kick up powder all over the place. Honestly, I don't feel like these mattes even work with one another. I feel like it's a challenge to blend, and when you do start blending, they get muddy really quickly. These are definitely not a matte formula that I like. Just for reference, some of my favorite matte shadows are in the Viseart palettes. The Viseart mattes are just flawless. I can't think of anything else that is that good. And then in terms of the duochrome shadows, there are only 4 of them, which I will say is kind of unfortunate because those are my favorite parts of this palette. The duochromes are really beautiful. I've used them wet and dry. They're not super dense like a Makeup Geek foiled shadow, so they're still very easy to pick up with a brush. If you use them with a slightly damp brush, that duochrome just pops. They are really beautiful. Now, in terms of the color selection in this palette, I do kind of like the way they're laid out, because if you look in the rows across, you can see they're almost like pre-done, like it's a pre-done matte eyeshadow quad. And then if you wanted to pull in a shimmery color, they're all kind of corresponding according to the row. But in terms of overall color selection, like, do I think this is a unique palette? Not at all. Tarte has so many matte palettes in their line. They have the Tartelette palette. They also have the Tartelette in Bloom palette, which I know is not a fully matte palette, but it does have a lot of mattes in it. And honestly, the color selection in both of those palettes is so similar to the color selection in this palette. The only colors I would say are semi-unique are these kinds of like berry reddish tones. But honestly, like if you own the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette, much better quality. That is a beautiful palette. That is just my honest opinion. I really don't think this is worth the hype. I think if this entire palette consisted of the formula that these duochromes are, I think it would actually be really good because I do like these duochromes. Tarte has just been releasing disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, and honestly, this is going to be the last Tarte palette that I buy for a while. Unless they release something that is incredibly new and unique and doesn't have just a crap load of neutrals that we all already have somewhere in our collection. That is just my honest opinion, and it's not just the color selection, it's the quality of those mattes. They're not very good. Now, this is the point in the video where I would do some side-by-side comparisons of my Tarteist and my Tarteist in Bloom palette, but I don't have those palettes anymore. I actually ended up passing them on to a friend just because I wasn't reaching for them. I didn't like the quality, and I just thought there are so many other great palettes. Why would I waste my time using something that I'm not completely in love with? And that's kind of the way I feel about this palette too. So more than likely, this is going to be going back to the store. Now, in terms of a price breakdown, you are getting 20 different colors in this palette. Each of the pans holds 1 gram of product, which means you are getting 20 grams of product total. That means that you are paying $2.65 per gram in this palette. Now, I did want to do a little bit of a price breakdown comparison with either of the other Tartelette palettes. You know, the ones that look like this. I'm sure you guys have seen them before. But those palettes retail for $45. You're only getting 12 shades in both of those palettes, but each of those shades holds 1.5 grams. So you're getting 18 grams of product total. That breaks down to $2.50 you're paying per gram in those palettes. So you're paying 15 cents per gram more in this palette. I genuinely don't like the quality of this. I really, really wish I did. I went into testing this palette with really low expectations, thinking that if I go in thinking it's going to be bad, it's got to kind of exceed that even just by a little bit, right? But honestly, it was worse than I thought. Anyways, that wraps up my Tarteist Pro Palette review video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't seen the rest of my holiday hoopla series, I will put my playlist link in the description box down below. Be sure to check out that playlist because I have a lot of other review videos on other products that I not so much loved, but there are a lot of really, really great products that I reviewed in that playlist as well. Especially if you guys are looking for Christmas gifts or something of the sort, I would definitely check out that playlist because there are so many great options, but I don't really think this is one of them. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in my next video on Thursday. I will see you then. Bye. Just say this here and now. This is probably the best, most exciting haul. This is literally your ultimate naked basics matte palette, anything that you can pull in.